started fighting over this territory. And amongst the confusion, the Moors, who were the Muslims from the north of Africa, and are now more or less known as Morocco, well, they started to conquer Spain and Portugal from the south, heading north. Now, at one point, this area where we are now was the borderline between the Christians in the north and the Muslims in the south. So what the Moors decided to build in when they founded Madrid. This place actually has Muslim foundations. Well, it wasn't really a city at all initially, but more of a military outpost. Now, the first building they ever built was right over there, and it was known as the Alcázar. Now, surprise, surprise, I don't speak any Arabic, but the translation I've got for Alcázar would be either castle or fortress. This is really more what it was initially, more of a fortress, more of a military outpost than a city at all. So, this Alcázar stayed here for many, many centuries, when finally the Christians from the north conquered the southern territory. To put it very simply, what happened? Well, the royal families from northern Europe, they merged and became one known as the Habsburgs or the Austrian kings. You're going to hear me refer to them as the Austrian kings, but I'm out of it easy than Habsburgs. So, these Austrian kings, right? These guys were pretty good at war. They conquered parts of Germany, Italy, Holland, Belgium, loads of places. They had control of the Mediterranean Sea navigation system, and they also discovered most of the American continent. So yeah, pretty good at war. But as far as like planning, administration, stuff like that was concerned, well, these guys really weren't so hot on those kind of issues. You know, when they were conquering a new place, they were never really doing other things, you know, develop it or improve it. They're basically just taking the gold and collecting the taxes. So, when they conquered Madrid, they decided to keep this Alcázar. They did make a couple of big changes to it, however. They painted it white and they renamed it from the Alcázar to Royal Alcázar. That became their royal palace when you move things towards that. So, the Royal Alcázar stayed for a few more centuries when the royal families changed again, from the Austrian kings to the Bourbons. And the Bourbons are the royal family we still have here nowadays, just bringing it closer to the present, right? So, this Bourbon family, originally they were a French family. And this first Bourbon king, well, he was obviously pretty excited when he was told to be the new king of Spain. I mean, you would imagine the capital city of such a massive kingdom to be very, you know, developed and beautiful and to have a fairly sophisticated population, right? When he arrived here, he was pretty disappointed. The city was not developed, nor beautiful, and the people, they were far from sophisticated. And then he sees this Royal Alcázar, this military construction turned into a royal palace. He was like, no fucking way. He wanted to knock it down and build like a new European kind of palace, a bit more his style, right? There was just one small problem, however. The people of Madrid were having none of it. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa! What are you doing? You've only just arrived in town. You've not knocked down our Royal Alcázar. We love it. No, no, no. So if you want to build a new palace, no worries. We've got loads of room in the outskirts of the city. Just go build it over there, okay? You can imagine what this king thought, right? These people are telling him what to do. He's the king of Spain. So, instead, he came up with what we know as a creative solution. Maybe sound a bit suspicious, right? So, he organised a party for Christmas Eve in the outskirts of the city. Free entrance, free food, free booze. I'm sure all of you would today if you got an invite from the king for a free party. Everybody from the city went. Still say today, best party in town ever. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Everyone, you know, the dance floor and ate a lot and yeah, drank a bit too much. So after this awesome party, everyone's stumbling back into the city centre from the outskirts, you know, singing those songs that sound so beautifully in tune of the evening. And then he's recording the next day. And they were thinking maybe this king, maybe it wasn't that bad after all. That was, however, until they arrived here to see that the Royal Alcazar had been burnt to the ground. Bit more suspicious, right? Even more suspicious when you find out they had all the time they needed to remove every piece of furniture, every piece of artwork, all the royal armoury, and all the royal treasury. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say it's the king trying to make it look like an accident, right? Well, thanks to this little accident, we have the royal palace that you see here. So, this is actually the largest royal palace you can visit in Western Europe. It has 4 floors and 200 grounds on this side, and 6 floors and 200 grounds on the other side. It's actually built on a bit of a hill. And it's also a brilliant museum, full of neoclassic design, everything from construction styles, the furniture, the gardens, all of it neoclassic. It is also home to the world's best collection of medieval artwork and the world's best collection of Stradivarius musical instruments. So pretty awesome place. But these really are the things that I think make this place quite special enough. Now, what they don't normally tell you is that, well, most of the stuff that you can see like this across the rest of Western Europe is either wholly or partially reconstructed or recreated. Now, the difference between reconstruction and recreation, well, reconstruction, they rebuild it how it was done before, but obviously it's not original. And recreation is kind of how it was. But that's not the case with this place. This place is actually 100% original, which I think makes it really quite special. So, we only really have one unlikely character to thank for this fact. I'm sure some of you will have heard of a guy called Francisco Franco. Not one of the nicer characters in Spanish history, that's to say the least. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Spaniards lost, well, yeah, everything, jobs, homes, families, lives, because of Franco. But it's really thanks to him that this place is still 100% intact. Confused them. Basically, well, during the Second World War, it was expected that Spain would side with Germany, because Franco and Hitler, they were both fascist dictators, right? So it would kind of make sense if they're fighting on the same team. Well, there was a meeting between Spain and Germany, between Franco and Hitler, and we don't exactly know what was said during this meeting, right? But what is known is that Hitler left this meeting room and said to one of his advisors, "You know this Francisco Franco guy? I really don't like him." So according to Adolf Hitler, Francisco Franco was a bad guy. I mean, come on. So basically, Spain never really sided with Germany and Japan during the Second World War. They actually remained neutral until about the last week or so. Another story. But yeah, remained neutral. So they didn't really sustain any of the bombing like across the rest of Western Europe, which is why obviously this place is still 100% intact. But there was actually also a massive civil war here just before the Second World War. But what you have to appreciate really about the military technology here in Spain during that period, well, it wasn't nearly as advanced as across the rest of Western Europe. I mean, they didn't even have an air force, to give you some idea. So basically the battle that was going on during the Civil War was much more similar to the First World War. You know, not so many bombing, stuff like that, just a lot of bullets. A lot of bullets and gunfire, like it's a casual thing, obviously not. But you know, I mean, it's not as destructive in an architectural sense, but like in a social and economic sense, obviously still a little bit of a problem. You can actually still see the march of the Civil War. Can you see it from here? A little bit, I kind of put you in the wrong place.